Hey folks, welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Megan, and today we are going over seeds that I am starting or have started for the 2025 spring gardening season. Here on my high desert homestead, we grow food year round and provide around 70% of our fresh grown produce from here on the farm. So I am growing all the time, I'm starting seeds constantly, and I'm starting a lot of different types of things. So right now today, I am not gonna be going over everything that I'm starting for this spring season. I'm only gonna be going over what I've already started for indoor planting to be transplanted out. So this includes peppers, tomatoes, some flowers, herbs, and some greens, and I think that's about all I've started. The rest is going to be either sown inside, which is not preferable, in a couple weeks, or direct sown out in the garden. Those plants are gonna include beans, peas, which I've already started, corn, okra, some various flowers, and other things. Plants that prefer to be put directly in the ground as opposed to transplanted. I'm gonna go over those later just because I don't want this to be like a 2-hour long video of every single seed variety I'm starting. There's quite a list here already, just from tomatoes and related nightshades and peppers, which is also nightshade, and a few flowers. I'll go over that today and some herbs, and I think that should be good. This is going to be just basically me talking to you at this table, so if you guys just want to put your phone down and listen to it like a podcast while you're working around the house, that's actually what I like to do with a lot of my YouTube channels. But I am also going to be showing you the seed packets, either physically if I have them, or if I don't have them, I'll try and do some sort of screenshot on the video so that you can see it in case you are interested in purchasing some of these seeds for yourself. I'll let you know where I got them from, although a lot of these seeds can be purchased from multiple seed vendors. You know, use whoever you like. So, without further ado, let's get started, and I'm gonna get started with tomatoes and tomato-like analogs, like ground cherries. Now would be a good time to tell you guys that I'm kind of changing up the way that I am gardening this year. I tentatively say that because my views and opinions and desires may very well change next year. They may even change by the fall gardening season. Who knows? But any of you who have been here for a little while know that I garden and homestead. I love it. First off, I love the lifestyle, but primarily my goal is to be able to provide homegrown, healthy, pesticide and herbicide-free, high nutrient value food for my family. And on top of that, I live in a very challenging climate. I live in Southwest USA, in the southern part of New Mexico in the high desert at about 4,000 feet elevation. It's not as high desert as some high deserts, but it's up there and it's very dry. We get less than 10 inches of rain annually. And it's a tough place to try and grow a lot of food. But I am really interested in, how do I say this? Adapting the plants to the climate, adapting my gardening to the climate, rather than trying to force, a really tropical plant that loves rain and humidity to live here. I'm frustrated with trying to grow varieties that work great elsewhere, and just having terrible luck and my harvest suffering because of it. I get a lot of food every year. It's not like I'm really suffering with a lack of food because of my decision to grow certain varieties, but I find the idea of adaptation gardening or landrace gardening really intriguing, and I would just like to really pursue growing and developing varieties of plants that thrive in this high heat, low moisture environment, and having, those tried and true tomato seeds or those tried and true hot pepper seeds that I absolutely know I can just throw in the ground and they will love it here, and I will be guaranteed fruit from that particular variety that year. You know, I want really good, solid varieties of plants that I have grown and adapted over several generations in my garden to grow here and thrive here. So that's really where I want to take my gardening. Like I said, at least right now, I still love growing cool new plants and pretty varieties and fun things, and I will continue to do that. But as a whole, definitely this year, I've pared down the varieties of plants that I'm actually growing and really going for, you know, specific types that do well in desert environments, or tried and true types that have worked well for me year after year. So that being said, I have scratched, like cut a lot of varieties I have grown in the past from my seed selection this year. In fact, I gave my mom just a whole bunch of packets of full seed packets of stuff that I just wasn't interested in growing. You guys know the problem I've had with Amish paste. I tried to give that paste tomato 3 tries. I gave it 3 tries in my garden, 3 years. I didn't get a single usable fruit off of that dang variety. It just does not do well in the hot, dry heat. The plant itself just withers and dies. It cannot handle it. So that's an example of stuff I'm just not going to keep trying to grow. You know, the definition of insanity. So starting with tomatoes, I'm gonna start with tried and true varieties. My first one, you guys, if you've been here the last 2 years, Estiva. It's an F1 hybrid from Johnny Seeds, and it is bred to be heat resistant and to keep setting fruit in high temperatures. This is an amazing tomato. It works so well for me in my garden. It was actually the highest producer last year, and it threw out a ton of fruit after the monsoon season started. I want to say like August. No, not even. October. Yeah, it was producing late. I pulled off an entire basket full of green fruits on my last Estiva tomato plant in November of last year, and just left them on the table, on this exact table, all winter long, and they just slowly ripened. It was really cool. I had fresh tomatoes for a lot of the winter. So I can absolutely 100% recommend the Estiva from Johnny Seeds. This will be my 3rd year in a row growing this. If you live in a hot desert environment, this is it right here. Unfortunately, because it is a hybrid, if you save seeds from this tomato, the next generation will not be true to the parent generation, but it's worth it. Next up, I have, okay, well, this is a tried and true. The gold medal tomato from Seed Savers Exchange. Also the German pink tomato. I believe it's also from Seed Savers Exchange. These are both heirloom slicer types. This one's like an orangey yellow, and the German pink is pink, a lighter pink. It's not really like a true red tomato. They're both delicious, amazing. They do okay for me. I've definitely had success with them in the past. I've also had failures in the past, but they do well enough and they're reliable enough for me to keep growing them. I have seeds still left in here from 2021, and I'm using the same seed packet every year. I'm not sure if I will buy this again when I run out, but for now, I am totally fine planting this tomato here. These two, so Berry's Crazy Cherry. Most of y'all, if you garden, are probably familiar with this variety. It's a multiflora. It just means it sets off a bunch of flowers in a bunch like this. It's actually really, really cool to see. This did super well for me the first year I grew it 2 years ago. Every single one of my plants failed last year. They just died. I don't know if it was disease or heat damage. Not sure. I didn't get any Berry's Crazy Cherry last year. I'm going to grow it again this year, My mom has really good luck with this and she doesn't live that far from me. So we'll give it a try. I was pretty disappointed last year with this though. Isis Candy Cherry. I grew this for the first time last year. This is not a tried and true for me. It produced well, but I think it ended up getting, I forget the disease, but it mottled the fruit. I don't think it's a tobacco mosaic virus. Something. The plant produced fruit, but the fruit ended up not being good to eat, very good to eat. So I didn't eat it. I'm gonna try it again. It grew. Martino's Roma. This is a pretty decent Roma variety. The fruits are a little small. And I'm not sure if that's because this variety doesn't love my climate or if the fruits are naturally small. I can't really tell with the hands in this picture because my hands are so tiny. So I don't really have a frame of reference here. But it's a good fruit. It produced really well. It produced for me the last 2 years. I've grown it. Did I grow it 2 years ago? I grew it last year. Yeah, I think I've had it. Yep, I think I've had it 2 years in a row. I think. Anyways, I can recommend this paste variety, although I've only ever grown 2 varieties. One was the Amish paste, and the second one was the Martino's Roma. And since I had 0 success with Amish paste, any success with this is just awesome. So I can recommend that one. The rest of the tomato seeds that I'm growing, yeah, the rest are not going to be seed packet varieties. I have 3 varieties of saved seeds. So one of these is 2 generations old. This was seeds from a giant crimson tomato seed, which is an heirloom variety that M.I. Gardener sells. I saved seeds from one of these plants 2 years ago, and I don't remember if any grew last year, but I've started some seeds that have germinated this year. So I will be growing this, and I have 2 seeds I saved. 2 other types of seeds. I don't have names. I don't know which plants I saved them from. But it says here I have a giant red slicer and a medium red slicer. Yeah, so I'm trying out some saved seeds that I've saved over the last 2 years. I'm gonna see how they do. I'm gonna plant several plants from each variety that I saved from, just to make sure I have a decent set of options to choose from if they start killing off and dying. I will only probably save seeds from any of these plants if they do exceptionally well, because I don't want to be saving genetics that are kind of piss poor and are going to be piss poor the next year and just get slowly worse after that. I want top shelf stuff. So I've saved everything from the last 2 years that I wanted to save. Now this coming generation, I'm going to be even more selective about, plant vigor, fruit size, fruit taste, stuff like that, pest resistance. And what else do I got? Okay, so I've talked about this company in the past. I think it's a nonprofit. I am by no way affiliated with this company. I just really, really believe in their mission, and they do a lot of free education for people like you and me who want to learn how to grow successfully in difficult climates. So these are 2 seed packets from goingtoseed.org. I'm not going to go into them very much. I will put a link down below to their website and you can check it out. They follow this practice called adaptation gardening, formerly called landrace gardening. And I can definitely recommend you check out maybe Joseph Lofthouse on YouTube. Going to Seed also has a channel on YouTube if you guys want to check them out. But these are 2 seed packets. They are both tomatoes. One is a self-pollinating mix, and the other one, it's funny, the name I believe is Somewhat Slutty. So in reference to the name of this tomato called Somewhat Slutty, I'm gonna read directly from the Going to Seed website for the description on this tomato project, so I don't butcher it. All of these tomatoes should be descendants of Joseph Lofthouse's promiscuous tomato project, which seeks to return wild genetics to the highly inbred Solanum lycopersicum species. Essentially, Joseph Lofthouse is one of the big proponents of adaptation gardening. He has a promiscuous tomato project which seeks to use wild tomatoes which have genetics that make them outcrossing, which means their flowers are open and they can receive pollinators to spread their genetics between plants. For the most part, tomatoes nowadays are 100% self-pollinating. So it's really hard to create new genetics unless you physically pollinate tomato plants. Joseph Lofthouse is trying to create tomato plants, modern tomato plants with big fruit and all that stuff, with flowers that encourage pollination so that you can more easily get genetic diversity within your tomato crop. Because there's very, very little genetic diversity within tomatoes today because of the decades and generations of inbreeding. So all that being said, I'm planting these two varieties from Going to Seed. I don't have a lot of cool new seeds from different seed companies this year, guys. I am sorry. I'm just really trying to find a tomato that works very well in my environment that I can get lots of tomatoes from in 100-degree weather in the middle of the summer. So tomato analogs that I'm planting, I am doing tomatillos again. I believe I told you guys last year I wasn't going to do tomatillos, and I was 100% on the no tomatillo boat until I realized how many I used over the winter. I kept going back to the freezer and pulling them out to make salsa because I was really craving fresh salsa in the middle of winter. So unfortunately, I have to grow these again. I didn't love growing tomatillos. They're just very large plants, which is funny because I'm also growing ground cherries, which grow in a very similar fashion. These plants almost look like identical to each other. They both are husk fruits. They both grow in this like outward weird fashion that takes up my entire garden bed. But I'm growing both of them, these because I need them, and the ground cherries because one, I want to get rid of these seeds, and two, I want something to snack on in the garden. I had a really poor cherry tomato outcome last year. I almost didn't get any cherry tomatoes. I just had slicers producing in my garden, and I had nothing to snack on. And I really like just going out and snacking on little fruits while I'm in the garden. So I figured I'd grow some ground cherries because those are fun to snack on and they're really sweet. I'm also gonna give eggplants another try. I didn't use them a whole bunch last year. It was my first time growing them. And I'll be honest, I am not an eggplant eater. Not because I particularly hate them. I don't purchase them in the store. I really wouldn't know what to make with them. I've had baba ganoush before. I'm not a fan. I'm more of a hummus person. But we would cut these eggplants up and like throw them in a stir fry. And I feel like eggplant, personally, my opinion, is rather tasteless or will very easily take on the flavor of whatever you put it in. So it was super easy to just add to a stir fry with other vegetables and kind of lose it in the stir fry. So I don't mind growing it, it's just extra food. But I don't particularly love it, and I didn't particularly love the few recipes that I tried out. I could live without it, is what I'm saying. But I have the seeds. This variety is called Ping Tung. It grew well, it produced well for me last year, and it's a pretty compact plant. So that's it for tomatoes or tomato-like things. Now on to the peppers. Peppers, I bought a lot more new seeds of this year. Peppers are my jam. I love them. I love them prepared every way. Raw, baked, boiled, sauteed, dried, rehydrated, roasted, all of them. I love peppers. They're great. They're a great food to preserve. They preserve really easily. You can freeze them. You can dehydrate them. They're good to stuff. They're good sweet. They're good spicy. They're great when you make them into a sauce. They're just perfect for everything. I love peppers. It's my favorite thing to grow, and I always grow tons, both in volume and in varieties. So I'll go with the ones, my tried and true first. This pepper, I cannot recommend enough. The pimiento de padrón. I just call it the padrón pepper. This is traditionally served in Spain as a tapa, which is like an appetizer. And from things that I've read online, people describe this pepper as similar to a shishito, where you'll go to a restaurant, you'll have just whole sauteed or roasted shishito peppers on a plate and you eat them just like that. And they're not spicy. They're a sweet-ish, kind of umami-ish pepper. They're good, they're great. And that's how I've heard people describe this pepper, as like an appetizer pepper that you just roast and feed. I don't know who got the wrong seeds, but these peppers have always been very spicy to me. I use them primarily, I mean, when they're fresh, I'll just use them and I cut them up in my eggs. They are my go-to hot pepper when I want hot pepper flavoring in my food. These are also my primary pepper that I grind up and dehydrate all throughout the winter to make my hot pepper spice that I sprinkle on everything. I've never eaten these as an appetizer because if I bite into a green one, I will cry. So I don't know if I've got spicy packets every time I bought these or what, but I don't know why people say that this is like an appetizer pepper, like a shishito. I grow this because of its heat. So that's what I'm recommending for hot peppers, is this padrón pepper. If someone has had a different experience, please let me know, because I have no idea what anyone is talking about. Another tried and true is the Sugar Rush peach pepper. I would say this one is definitely hotter than the padrón pepper. This is a pretty spicy pepper, but the spice is also offset with its fruity flavor. Like it's almost sweet. It's got such an amazingly fruity flavor. It's very much like a habanero, but most times habaneros are just way too hot to appreciate the flavor. This is a little less on the heat scale. Still hot though, but this is a great pepper to grow. Speaking of, I don't even know if I don't. Speaking of the fruity flavor of a habanero, if you've tasted the fruity flavor of a habanero and you like it, there is a pepper called the habanada that has all of the flavor of the habanero with zero of the spice. I don't have any seeds here, that's what I was looking for, but I have grown it. It's delicious. I think it's just great to be grown as a sweet pepper if you want. Incredibly fruity. I didn't grow any this year. I don't think I had any seeds. And really it's not, I don't like it that much to go out and buy more seeds. I don't grow a whole ton of sweet peppers. Some other tried and trues that I absolutely must grow, and this is more of like the way I grew up, because I am in southern New Mexico and I grew up in El Paso, Texas. I very much love Mexican and Hispanic cuisine and therefore grow a lot of peppers used in that cuisine. I have chile de arbol, the arbol chili pepper. I don't have a packet. I used it all last year, but this is saved seed. So I'm growing the arbol chili as well as hatch green chili and Hatch red chili. I don't have a red chili packet, but I do have saved seeds from last year. Both of these are extremely hot, but must grow them. What else do I have? Serrano hot peppers. I saved some seeds from last year. I think that's it. Oh, and the Thai hot pepper. This is a absolute must for me. I don't use a ton of it fresh. It's a really spicy. It's a Thai pepper. I mean, I'm sure you've had some if you've ever eaten any sort of Asian cuisine. They're used everywhere. But I use this a lot for spices. The reason I love this so much is because you can just grow one plant, and I will harvest red peppers throughout the entire summer season from one plant and have enough dehydrated in a half-gallon jar to last me a whole year. I always have extra left over by the time I start harvesting the next year. And I just use this as a spice pepper. So all during the winter, I will just grind it up and add it wherever I need. Thai hot spice. All right. The rest, these two are saved seeds. This is padron pepper saved seeds. And this is habanero seeds I saved from last year. This was a Bonnie plant that I picked up from like Lowe's or Home Depot or something. It ended up doing really, really well in my garden, and it wasn't even under the shade cloth. So I definitely saved seeds from that plant. I don't think it was an F1 hybrid, so it should be true to type. We'll see. The rest of these are new to me, except for this one, the lemon spice jalapeno. I grew this last year. It didn't produce anything. I think my mom had given me some seeds. I'm gonna try it again though. If this is a New Mex variety, that means it was developed at New Mexico State University, which is basically where I live. So, yeah, well adapted to the hot, dry New Mexican climate. So you should have produced some food for me last year, buddy boy. We're trying this again. This is new to me from Baker Creek Seeds, Zapotec Jalapeno. This ancient heirloom sings with smoky sweet flavor and heat. It's an ancient variety from Oaxaca, Mexico. Considered hot for a jalapeno, so this should be a spicier version of a jalapeno. I'm excited to try this. Hooray. And I'm also trying, all these new peppers are from Baker Creek, but this is the Zulu pepper. It is crisp with thin flesh. This sweet pepper is sure to please. Like I said, I don't grow a lot of sweet peppers, but I don't know, something about this caught my eye. And I really want to give sweet peppers a better try because I want to do more stuffed peppers in my summer, you know, recipe rotation. I do stuffed bell peppers quite often with, for just me and Chase, we'll do, like I grow canary bell peppers. Ooh, that's a variety I need to mention. I'm growing canary bell peppers. I do not have the seed packet. I use them all. But the kids don't like stuffed bell peppers. So I'm looking for other sweet peppers. I don't know. I'm just looking for new things to do. And I like peppers. This is really cool. This is a cool name. It's a cool looking pepper. This is called Pippin's Golden Honey. It's a multicolored sweet pepper, a beloved heirloom of the Philadelphia African American community of the early 1900s. So it is a sweet pepper, and it's small like a jalapeno. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. What do you do with sweet peppers? I mean, what's the point? What's the point if they're not hot? Anyways, this is a very pretty pepper. I'm excited to grow this. We'll see. All right, I've also got some other saved peppers. I'm growing a shishito pepper. I like how I'm showing you guys my seed packet, and then all it is a craft bag with crappy handwriting on it. But I'm growing shishito peppers. Those are obviously saved seeds from 2022. I'm growing banana peppers. These are saved seeds as well. I've told you guys before, like I said, I don't grow a lot of sweet peppers. I basically use the banana pepper for everything. I don't use it to make pickled banana peppers or anything like that. I just use it because it's a very, very prolific plant. I mean, I'm getting 10 peppers off this thing a week during the high season. And I can get them any color I want. I can pull them off when they're yellow. I can wait till they're red. I can get them when they're a little bit green. Like I have the color of the rainbow, and they're just a plain sweet pepper that I could put in anything. I can use them in the place of bell peppers if I like fillet them. So I just use this one pepper as my sweet pepper for everything. But I'm branching out this year, and I've got the Zulu pepper and Pippin's Golden Honey. So banana pepper, get out the way. And this, if I can find specific footage showing you this pepper growing in my garden last year, I will. But this, I'm calling it the Austin pepper. It was like a purplish red pepper, the size of an arbol chili, that my mom got seeds from when she went to visit my sister in Austin, Texas, like 2 years ago. That's the story of this pepper. I have what she gave me. I can show you guys. Hold on. This actually shows the colors quite well. So she brought home this pepper from this farm she was volunteering at. And I planted some seeds. It didn't do real well. But it did do well enough to produce me viable fruit. So even though it was like, maybe got like 10 fruits off the thing, and the plant never grew more than this tall. It was tiny. It looked like it struggled the entire time. But it did survive, and it did produce fruit. So really what you're going for when you're doing adaptive gardening or adaptation gardening, that first year, you just want survivors. It's when you get into year 2 and 3, when those survivors start getting better at surviving, now you're looking for better genetics in the way of fruit set or fruit quality or fruit taste or pest resistance in the plant. That comes later. But year 1, when you're saving seeds and you're just trying to get these plants that are gonna work, you need survivors. And that's what I got. I got one of these plants, struggled through and produced me some viable seed. So this is technically year 2 of saving seeds from this plant, because year 1 counts as my mom grabbing some fruit and me planting it here. So we'll see how these do this year. I probably won't grow them again if they just do the same thing as they did last year. I didn't fall in love with the way they tasted. They were kind of just a very small, spicy pepper. So unless something drastic changes this year, or they produce a ton, or they suddenly taste fantastic, if they struggle, I'm just gonna let that go by the wayside and consider that a non-survivor in my climate. All right, guys, so just got some more water, and I was thinking about it, and I don't think I'm going to go over all of the herbs that I planted with you today, because I planted a lot of medicinal herbs, and I planted a lot of new medicinal herbs this year that I have not planted before. I went shopping at Strictly Medicinal Seeds. So I'll probably do a separate video and make that about the medicinal herbs specifically I'm growing. I know a lot of you have requested I talk more about the herbalism stuff that I do and the herbs that I grow and the medicinal value. And I will, and I do give you guys some information here and there, but I am not an herbalist, And I know that's okay. Like some of you don't care if I'm not qualified. I do a lot of research. I do practice on myself, and I'm clearly not dead. But I honestly, like, that is not, like, I don't spend all of my time doing that. I spend all of my time gardening. Like, I know a ton about gardening. Herbalism, not so much. I have a ton of books that I will often reference, but as for like knowing that stuff deep down and being able to regurgitate it confidently to you, not so much. So I'll talk about stuff and I'll, you know, overview some information for you guys. But as for like in-depth herbalism, medicinal herb information, I personally don't feel qualified to be teaching you a whole bunch about that. I will gladly reference some YouTube channels. One right off the bat that I watch a lot is the Honeystead. Definitely reference that if you're interested more in that aspect. Of course, watch my videos too. But as for why I don't talk a whole lot about herbalism, it's just because like I don't spend a whole lot of time studying it. And I want to give you guys the best information. All right, so for flowers, I've got a ton of amaranth this year. I'm really, if you remember those two 2x8 beds I have at the front of the garden, they're brand new beds this year. I know a whole lot's not gonna grow in them because of the crappy soil this year, but I still wanna try, and I'm just having this beautiful secret garden vision with a ton of flowers in green, like a flower wall right in front of the garden. I don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe next year, but I'm still gonna plant the plants. And I've got tons of different varieties of amaranth. This is Hopi red dye. This is verde. Rojo. I thought I had another one. Oh, I do. It's just not a flowering one. Oh yeah, I do. No, I don't. I also have this pink beauty. This is more of a green, like in case you didn't know, amaranth, the entire plant is edible. People will eat the leaves for greens, and then these flower heads turn into seed pods in which the tiny little seeds can be eaten like quinoa. It's a very difficult process to winnow that by yourself. I have done it, not worth it in my opinion. But these two amaranth types are used primarily for their greens. So this is a great option to grow if you live in a hot climate and it's too hot to grow normal salad greens like romaine or iceberg. You really need cool temps for that. I grow that stuff in the winter, but it's nice to have salads in the summer too when we can't grow salad. So I've got all of this amaranth, these tall flowering types I'm growing and I'm gonna plant just for some pretty flowers, not for their food value. I've also got sunflowers. These are saved sunflower seeds. I don't really care about a whole bunch of sunflower types. If I see pretty ones that I like, I'll buy them. But really, I have a ton of saved sunflower seeds, and the common sunflower, also called the Mexican sunflower. I've seen it with a million different names. But it's a multi-headed sunflower I planted in my garden before. It reseeds itself every year. So I have tons of volunteer sunflower plants every year in my garden. So I don't really need to, here it is. I mean, common sunflower. I got these from Native Seed Search. I also have a million of these seeds that I've saved despite they just reseed in my garden. So sunflower varieties, I don't really have any cool ones for you. The same with zinnias. I used to have a ton of zinnia packets for you guys, but when I did my whole seed cleanup at the beginning of this month or the month before, I consolidated them. See, I put zinnia mixture. So we're just gonna see what comes up. It could be a green zinnia, a pink zinnia. I have no idea. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how the final product turns out, because I won't know what colors they are until long after they're already in the ground. It'll be interesting. That's kind of fun. I never thought about that. It'll be a surprise. I did buy some more marigolds this year just because I was out. I love marigolds. I like the way they smell for some reason. You shouldn't eat them though. And this one is a new one from Baker Creek. This looks cool. The disco mix. It's got a bunch of different types in there. So this will be cool. Marigolds are just fun little compact flowers to like stick in random places around the garden. They are effective against some types of pests. I would not, like this whole companion planting thing, I don't really, for the most part, don't believe in most of it and don't do it. I have planted marigolds in the past, like as companion planting when I first started gardening. I've never really seen you know, pesticidal effect for them or a pest deterrent effect from them. But they're pretty, so that's why I plant them. And they smell good. I'll do an honorable mention. I did throw some seeds. That'll be in a different video. I have footage of that. I did throw some safflower seeds in the garden. Safflower is also known as poor man's saffron. It's a spice, or it can be used as a spice. Oh, look at this, it tells me. It's used as a coloring spice, dried to brew tea, and also can make a dye with deep orange, almost red pigment. That's cool. But it's also used as a food spice in place of saffron, which is extremely expensive spice. I didn't use it as that when I grew it. It was kind of pretty. It's really pokey. Like the plant itself is scary, dangerous. I couldn't imagine harvesting this stuff by hand. Just saving the seeds from this was painful. But it's a very efficient soil breaker. It sends down deep tap roots and it grows well in this hot, dry, like poor soil environment. So I'm just throwing seeds in, like direct sowing them in the beds to see if they come up. And if they do, well, I'll have some pretty flowers. If not, I didn't waste anything. I don't particularly care to grow these for the spice after my first year of trying this. They were pretty to look at, but honestly, the plant leaves are so sharp. Like if you brush up against this thing, it'll stab you. So it's not super fun. It's pretty to look at from a distance. So we'll see if they come up. If they don't, no loss. I'm not worried about it. I also, see, I'm talking about things that I haven't planted yet, and I said I wasn't gonna do that. It's a problem. Last flower though, nasturtium. I've saved a bunch of nasturtium seeds. I've thrown a few of the seeds in the garden. I like nasturtium. It doesn't love the heat here, but I usually plant it underneath other plants, and if it's shaded out, it'll live throughout the whole year. The plant's edible. It tastes like wasabi. I don't like wasabi, so I don't eat it, but it's pretty. Okay guys, I was gonna go and pull out another box of seeds, but we're done. I'm gonna pause for today. And we will, don't worry, we're gonna talk about the rest of the seeds when their time comes. I'll talk about my bean seeds. I have so many varieties of beans I'm planting this year. If you wanna know where all of my seed money went, it went to beans and corn. So many seed packets. Anyways, we're gonna talk about that when we get to planting that, or maybe just in a separate video. Maybe just in a separate video. But for today, we are done. I don't know how long I've been recording, but I feel like I've been sitting here forever, and you guys have probably been sitting there forever. So I'm gonna go. If you have any questions about the varieties, feel free to ask them. I will answer them down below. As I said before, the Going to Seed website will be down below. Highly recommend you check it out, especially if you live in a desert climate like me. It will greatly reduce your stress load if you begin to develop your garden in a more desert conscious way with varieties that do better here. With that said, I can also recommend Native Seed Search. If you just put that in your Google search bar, you'll be taken to nativeseeds.org or nativeseedsearch.org. Nativeseeds.org, I believe, is the website. They're a nonprofit out of Arizona that grows a lot of local, well-adapted desert plants. So check those places out. Baker Creek, always an awesome company to buy from, as well as Seed Savers Exchange. And that's it. I will catch you guys on the next one.